hello. Welcome. Episode 205, Field Home Farm Sessions on May the 24th, 2025. In Southern Ontario, it is still very, very, very cold. We're going to talk about that a little bit about hockey, a little bit about dance competitions, calves, just a whole lot of crap, expensive stuff, and well, we got to start talking about weather. Sorry, I was going to talk about weather, but I'll talk about Edmonton first. Got to talk about a happy thing. Edmonton Oilers won their game last night, 3-0. Now, I got to admit, I watched two periods and a little bit of the third, and I said, this is enough. They started 8, and I think they played at 11, 11:30. That's past my bedtime, past my attention span for watching. So they were leading 3-0 the other night, and they lost 6-3. So luckily, they won last night 3-0, so they are tied in the series 1-all. And if Florida Edmonton final again would be okay, only if Edmonton wins. It'd be nice to see a Canadian team, Edmonton especially, since my daughter is a Connor McDavid fan. So yes, May the 24th of 2025, and it is freaking cold. I think it's plus, I'm going to check the weather. It's supposed to be nice next week, but right now it is very chilly. I got 2 shirts. I had a coat on, and I'm just going through I did check the weather, but I want to get exact for my listeners, especially the Mystery and the Hubie Jen, and the Emmett Foster is not on. Come on. Anyways, yeah, it's supposed to be plus, I think, 18 or 19 on Tuesday, so that'll be a good change. Now, I know BC girl, it is beautiful out in BC, except that you have to live in BC. So right now in Bradford, it is plus 8. They're talking about a little chance of rain, plus 12, plus 13. And then next week is plus 18, 19, 19. So it's gonna be a lot better next week. And there you go. It's beautiful next week. So that should get the stuff in. Get all your beans planted by the 23rd would be awesome of June. Or sorry, by the 2nd of June. It'll be 23 degrees on June 2nd. So talk to a few people, and a lot of people have their beans in. And Hubie Jen and Evie, they have all their beans in, and everything's looking lovely. But the only downfall is it's not. I don't think they're growing. And some people say they have their corn and beans are out of the ground, and that's not always great when it's plus 8. But seed nowadays is very resilient, so we'll see what happens. So today, my daughter and wife have a dance competition, and that is in Newmarket. So that should be lovely. I said before in the past, if you listen to my past episodes, I love watching my daughter dance. I do not at all like watching other kids dance because it's just not as exciting as you would hope. But it's I don't know who's going to listen to the episodes. I don't want to too much. But anyways, my daughter loves it. She has a great time doing it. And my wife does an adult with the adults. And I think she said this might be her last year because she's not getting younger. I said, your body just doesn't do what it used to do. And she said she's not having as much fun as she used to. So I know when you stay up and they go out for a drink after their dance on Thursday nights that you got to get up and you got to put kids to school and you got to deal with your day and deal with me, which could be challenging, say the least. So she's got to deal with that. And that's why I kind of quit my Sunday night hockey, because doing that, you have a couple drinks after the social part. It's not the competition, it's the social part after that is the good part. And when you can't do that and enjoy that as much, it's not as much fun. So crappy weather jobs. Yeah, I got to change some oil on some tractors, change some oil on the skid steer. Do that. Talking to Sutton Jim. Sutton Jim is so worried about everything. He worries about his crops. He worries about his beans and his corn and his hay and getting things done. Sutton Jim, just relax. Take it easy. It's going to be what it's going to be. I said, Sutton Jim, you're almost 70 years old. Has there ever been a year where you haven't got crops done and everything else? He goes, well, no. I said, well, then just relax. It's going to be all right. And that's what happened. So I was driving. I had to, the Honey Festival today in Beaton, Dickerson Beaton, is on today, as well as the Schomburg Fair. And the Schomburg Fair had their Demolition Derby last night. Any of my listeners like Mystery, and I don't know who else would go to the Schomburg Fair, but those listeners might have been. So they had a Demolition Derby, and I looked at the video, and there was not very many people at the Demolition Derby, and there was not. It was cold, slippery, and wet. And my oldest daughter wanted to go, but they had a little sibling fight, so she got kind of half-ass grounded. So whatever. And we didn't go anyways, and I was glad. It was so freaking cold. You don't need to see that shit. We'll go in. We'll go in September when the Beaten Fair. We'll go watch their demolition derby. That would be just as good. The Beaten Honey Festival. It's just basically a bunch of vendors on the side of the. They close down the main street of Beaton, which is not that big and not. I guess there's a lot of traffic, but they have vendors and they have ice cream and just promotion and stuff. It's basically just like a fair. It's a vendor market. It's a flea market. It is what it is. So looking too at beef prices, I'm trying to decide whether I got two beef cows, whether I'm going to raise them up a little bit more. I got more than two, but what do I got now? I got 11. So I got two that are kind of at the point where you could sell them and make a bit of money, and I think I might do that because beef prices, they said at market, are $5 a pound. You can get $5 a pound at market. That is freaking insane. And then you're buying it for $7 or $8 from a farmer. It's just, and hay prices are not that, they didn't go up that much. So the price to feed the cow, I'm not going to say the farmer is making a lot of money, but I have bought, and this guy doesn't listen anyway, so I can cut him up or say whatever I want. So I have bought beef from this guy in the past, and their price of raising them, they raise them the way they always have. Hay hasn't gone up, so their price has not gone up at all, and yet they're going to charge like 7 or 8 pounds. So whatever. But buy chicken; it's better for you. Niagara. So Dirty Mike is down Niagara Falls on a hockey tournament with his daughter. I was thinking, I hope you don't burn your daughter out in hockey because I know she loves hockey, but holy crap, you guys play a lot of hockey. And then I said, there's a special place in Niagara, you got to go. And he says, well, we haven't gone yet. I said, if it was a boys' tour, you would, but they haven't gone yet because they're on a family. I said, well, you got to go to those kind of places or they'll shut down. And then what do? Then you have nowhere to go. It's just a nice place to go and have a beer. Nice bar. And, I was just say stealing my info. I have my info in my chicken barn, and I write down a bunch of stuff for my chicken meetings and my episodes. And if someone broke in and tried to steal my information, I'm pretty sure they can't read my writing anyway, so it's no problem that way. So I had that down. Talking about expensive stuff, $10.40 for a draft beer at St. Louis. I wanted to try Dusacki's. Says what is that guy in the commercial? But anyways, Dusaki beer, $10.40. I had two, and I didn't know they were $10.40. I was like, holy fuck, am I watching a Leaf game? Like $10.40? Like, Jesus, come on. This pen is so crap, I gotta throw it out. And so I definitely won't be getting that beer again. $4 for a Canadian, $4 for a Coors Light. Get that. That's a lot better. Selling old hockey stuff. So yes, after my wife and I went to St. Louis yesterday for a bit of lunch, they always have lunch deals, so it's good that way. It's not that expensive, except for the beer. Went up to Richard's Equipment, just north of Barrie, Penetanguishene Road. The best dealership, family dealership. They treat you right. They treat you fair. He's not trying to make a ton of money off you. He's got to make money or he won't stay in business, but he's not trying to make a ton of money. So if you want to buy equipment, they sell New Holland and Mahindra, which is like a tractor from India. I am so effing surprised there's nobody on today. No Mystery, no KJ, no Emmett. It's cold. Maybe they're under their blankets just doing whatever. So I went up to Richards, and Mr. Bob Richards' daughter has a son the same age as my daughter that plays hockey. So they have these open borders this year, which I talked about it before. So any kid, any son can go wherever they want. It used to be if you lived in Bradford, you had to play in Bradford. If you lived in Barrie, you had to play in Barrie. Well, this year they opened it up. They call it open borders. So the Bradford kids can try out in Toronto or Barrie or wherever you want. So all these little small towns like this, Miss Richards, their name's Ferguson now, but Sarah Richards used to, their son played in Oro, which is just north between Barrie and Aurelia. Nice little hockey town, but I said, why aren't you playing there? He said, well, all the kids took off and they went to other centers and they tried out for South Simcoe and they tried out for Barrie. So where I'm going with this is her son made the South Simcoe team, and I said my daughter made the Barrie. So I mentioned to my daughter last night, I said, why don't we take your son in? He can live with us for the year. You take our daughter, she can live with you for the year. You can drive her to Barrie, we can drive her to South Simcoe. Would be a lot nicer. So, but he actually coincidentally made the team that my daughter played on last year, like made the U13 B team, which was essentially the U12 B team last year. And I think there's 4 players on the team. So I was texting back and forth with the coach from last year, this Mike Jeffries, great guy. His son made the team, and I said, well, this girl made the team, so it should be interesting because I think they had like 50 players try out, and so it made a lot of cuts. It's going to have a good B team. We are 1-26 record last year, so that was not great. Maybe one of the reasons my daughter wanted to get out of there. Hold on, unedit it, but I think one of the reasons too they had such a crappy team. But I think she wanted to play for the girls, so she made the girls team. It's going to be a great year, and I have down selling old hockey stuff. Hubie Jen didn't have to do this, but when your kids are in sports, and especially now of friggin' days, like, so you go to Central York girls, they had their own equipment, they had their own bags, they had their own pants. I'm not sure they had pants as much as they have just different equipment, different logos on. South Simcoe had different logos. Excuse me, I hit it. So Sarah Ferguson asked me, do we have any bag or anything? And I said, yes, we do. A South Simcoe bag, which you are selling. So you buy it for 100. This is Hubie Jen. This is the good math. You buy a organization's bag for $110. Mystery's on. Mystery, you missed 10 minutes, 11 minutes. I thought you were under your blankets, all snuggled up, celebrating the Edmonton victory last night, 3-0. So I said you buy your bag for $110 and you sell it for $60. It's one of those things. Trying to sell my boat lift too, Mystery. You need a boat lift. Looking after calves. Yeah, so my daughter, I wiggled something different into Mystery like this. So I said my daughter's at a dance competition, and I said, it's your 4-H calves. It's learn to do by doing. And she goes, Dad, she comes in this morning, can you feed my calves? Because they take turns. My younger daughter feeds them in the morning, cleans them out, beds them up. My older daughter looks after them at night, and then they're supposed to lead them. And I go in and make sure they don't have loose poop and whether they're healthy or not, and make sure things are done correctly. But I don't essentially do the work because it's learned to do by doing. So my daughter says, can you look after the calves? I said, why didn't you wake up early this morning and do it? She said, I didn't. So it starts. That's what a dad does. But I'm like, so cold weather. I was going to say cold weather is bad for business. I said, Mystery, Emmett and Mystery are on. That's awesome. I said cold weather is bad for business, especially golf. Because Mystery, I'm sure shit you might be golfing today on a normal year, but you are not golfing today with this cold weather. So golfing and Wasaga and all these places that love the business for cold weather are not getting the business today. So, and I remember I was going to say too, I touched on Edmonton with the snowflake. I was going to say snowflake comment. I watched I forget what his name is, Nurse. He's in front of the net. The Edmonton guy, the Dallas guy was standing there. Nurse came in. The Dallas guy cross-checked him in the back lightly. It's playoffs. And the Edmonton guy took a swing at him and they said his knee, but it was his ankle. And he went down. Oh, golfing. Mystery says golfing tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Where? If you're golfing in Bondhead, give me a call. I don't really want to do it when it's +8, but. So the guy went down, and they're talking about how soft he is. And if anybody wants inside information about stuff, I said some things, and Snowflake Society can't handle anything anymore on my end. And I was just thinking that with that guy falling down Dallas last night, I was like, come on, get up. You're friggin', it's one leg. You can limp off the ice. You're trying to get a penalty for your team. And they got a 2-minute penalty. So it was done correctly. And that's what was happening. So what else are we going to do? Houses and buildings. I was coming back from Richards yesterday. I'm driving down the 5th, just north of Georgian Casino there. So they're building up the 5th. They're building houses like crazy. Maple View. And the 5th is a 2-lane highway. 400 hasn't been expanded yet. And they're building thousands of houses. I said, there's no subway system. Where are they going to go? They're going to drive. I said, you got to have these developers pay for roads. If the developers had to build roads before they built the houses, you would see the 400 expand it. You would see all these side roads expand it. So on that note, sorry, Mystery and Emmett, I got to get going. I'll talk to you later. We got to get some oil changes done on the tractors, oil changes done on the skid steer, just different stuff on a cold and shitty day. dance competition, everything else. It is just going to be a beautiful, beautiful day today. Go to the Schaumburg Fair, freeze your ass off, watch the calves, beef show tomorrow, Schaumburg Fair, Honey Festival. Get her done.